Well, welcome September 11th, 2025. So first, I want to start off by remembering 9/11, 2001, where we got attacked, started a huge descent of America, and it's still continuing today. So all those people, all those first responders that died in that, now hats off to them, and condolences. This is kind of going to be a somber show. This is not going to be an upbeat show. So,
right.
Because the first thing we're going to talk about is the assassination of Charlie Kirk, 31-year-old man who had young wife, 2 little babies, and he was murdered in cold blood. He wasn't a public official. He didn't make any policies. He didn't pass any legislation. And he was murdered by a sniper 200 yards out in a position that has been described as a perfect sniper's nest. And his body was struck in an area that couldn't be covered by a vest. And it was a very precise shot. So this doesn't seem like the work of a deranged person or an individual who snapped. This seems like a professional hit. I don't know if that's the case or not, but everything I see points me to that.
Right.
There have been reports of trans slogans etched in bullet casings, but this could be a false flag, misdirection. It could be bad information. I don't think you should take anything into that account until there's things proven. And even when that happens, I'm getting a really weird vibe out of this, where I'm seeing pictures of this guy that they're looking for who has like an American shirt on. I think there's a whole lot of stuff going on here that doesn't make any sense and doesn't seem like somebody who just snapped. But I want to talk about the people that seem to have found joy out of this. And if you have, do a deep reflection of your soul. And you need to find religion and go to church and get your soul, because it's black right now if you found any joy in this. And I desperately mean that. This isn't a fight against conservative and against liberal anymore. This is a good versus evil. And I say that knowing there's liberals I know that are abhorred by this as well. Those are good people.
Yeah.
We don't agree politically on stuff, but this is different. The people that are taking joy on this, they're black-hearted people. And unfortunately, if you are a liberal, the people that have been doing this kind of violence, we don't know about Charlie Kirk in particular, but they have been the people you've been associating with. I'm not saying you're responsible for their actions or even you agree with them, but maybe this should make you take a step back and say, who are the people that are associating with the causes I associate with? And how do we either disassociate from those people or get them to stop being this way or get them off your group? If you know anybody who's taken public or private joy in this, if you feel safely comfortable doing it, you should confront them and tell them that's not okay and they should be taking a look at themselves. If you celebrate a man's life, 31 years old, who had nothing to do with politics other than talking to people, he didn't incite violence, he didn't mock people, he didn't berate people. He went to places and had conversations. And he knew that if you stopped having conversations, then violence occurs. And this is what happens to him. And unfortunately, I've seen too many examples of people who took joy out of it. But I want to show you a real world Duluth, Minnesota example. I'm not going to say who did this, but this was a posting on Facebook. They start out saying gun violence is not acceptable and it is not acceptable to cheer for anybody being shot. What another sad day for America. So they spent, 22 words to say something completely obvious. Right. And then they spend the next 123 words just going after conservatives again. It's also an eye-opening moment to realize how many people will cry out openly when a right-wing guy gets shot, but none of them posted anything when the Minnesota legislators got shot at their houses. Silence back then and the public tears now showcase the character of so many of you. Did you post anything when the Minnesota legislators got shot? Left-wing people will say it's not okay and show public empathy towards Charlie Kirk's family. But where were my right-wing friends in their prayers when the Minnesota legislators were shot? Now, it's not time to argue, so I will stop here. All I ask is you please keep in mind when this happens to someone you don't agree with. So I want to point out here, They spend the first sentence saying something obvious. They go on to say a straw man argument saying nobody said anything about the Minnesota legislators who got shot. I personally know representatives, Republican representatives, who posted about this. They posted about how horrible it was. Everybody I know said this is horrible. Nobody said this was a great thing. Nobody reveled in it. And nobody tried to make it turn into, well, now you have to do this. You have to ban this or do this. They didn't try to make it into a political thing. They literally said, this is horrible and it should not happen. And, the other thing is, and by the way, if somebody was saying that, I would have gone after him. I would have personally gone after him because that's not right. But nobody's asking you to post anything either. Nobody's expecting you to post anything. But if you do post something, don't post something like this just to attack somebody. Most of her post was, 3/4 of it was attacking people, which is more of it. And then finally, then she says at the very end, well, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I've made my point. Now we're done talking about it. That is a very typical way for people to act. And not posting about something does not imply support. You could have chosen not to post about this and nobody would have thought anything about it, but you had to make an a very angry post. So it's time for reassessment. It's a healthy thing to do. This should be a good test. If you have a good soul, if you have people in your lives that are reveling this, take a look at yourself. Honest to God, you are wrong. I can't stress that enough. So that's my monologue for this show, Dave. Go ahead, and if you have anything to add to that, go ahead.
No, I just think he was shot because nobody could argue against him. The left was so angry that he was right all the time. He went to leftist colleges and let people speak and let people voice their opinion. And when he proved them wrong, eventually the media and all the politicians, their rhetoric just made people like this joker who, snap. He was correct. He wasn't right. He wanted people to speak. He didn't want violence. He never threatened anybody. He never had any violence in him whatsoever. He wanted people to speak to him and to talk to him and debate him. And that was the whole purpose of it. But once the left found out that they couldn't argue with him because they would lose every single time, because if you look at all the topics today, they're wrong on every single position. They're mad that Trump is sending people into Washington, D.C. to stop crime. And they're angry about that. Same with Chicago and Los Angeles. I mean, every position that the left is on nowadays is opposite of common sense. And he proved it. Charlie Kirk was just out there proving it. And like you said, he wasn't a politician. He couldn't change anything. He couldn't change a single law, a single anything. But because he was correct, that just made the left angry. And between, and then the nonstop rhetoric of the hatred towards anybody who doesn't think exactly like the left does, that's what creates these situations.
Right. They have been stoking the fire for a long time now and bringing up the heat. You posted something here. We talked about it last week, which is Walz fantasizing about Trump being dead over the weekend when he was, taking a weekend off.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff. Them saying, well, he was very outspoken, so you can kind of expect it. I mean, that's a horrible thing to say and a horrible thing to put in people's brains.
Yeah, I mean, if we had more time, we could go through every single major publication, every major media, and see and show and prove how they're stoking the fire. But everybody knows how they're stoking the fire, and they found one mentally unstable person that knew how to use a gun from a distance, and he did what he did.
Right.
We can blame the News Tribune for all their mistakes and everything they're doing, and we could prove it. If we had time to do it, but they don't care. When I was looking at it today, they barely even published. They didn't even show the face of the guy who the FBI was trying to look for.
And the FBI just put something out saying, this is a guy we need help finding.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty clear picture too.
And the News Tribune buried it at the bottom, and all they said was, here's a picture of the suspect. They didn't put his face there, so they're not even trying to get people to look for him and to hunt him down and bring him to justice. So that's, they don't think much of it either. Oh, we killed another conservative. Oh, big deal. It's not even news to them.
Well, and it's also, he's asking for it. There was the guy from MSNBC that was basically saying it's his own fault. And you told me he got fired today, right?
Yeah, I heard today. That was the first thing on the show list. But yeah, that they said they fired him for blaming the conservative to.
Well, let's hear what Ilhan Omar had to say.
What I do know for sure is that, Charlie was someone who once said, guns save lives after a school shooting. Charlie was someone who was willing to debate and downplay the death of George Floyd in the hands of Minneapolis police.
I think he called him a scumbag.
Right, have no regard.
You can debate the in the hands of Minneapolis police, by the way, Ilhan.
Downplay slavery, what Black people have gone through.
Did Charlie Kirk ever downplay slavery? She doesn't back any of this stuff up.
No, he explained it.
In this country, by saying Juneteenth should never exist.
My God, he said Juneteenth didn't exist, Dave. So she goes on to blather on some more. We'll go on. We'll play the rest of it.
And I think, there are a lot of people who are out there talking about him just wanting to have a civil debate.
Complete rewriting of history.
Yeah.
He literally said he just wanted to have a debate. I never saw him try to pick a fight with somebody. I never saw him pick up arms against somebody. He actually said, unless we have debate, we're going to have violence. And I don't know who this guy is. I don't know what this show is, but I really want these guys out. I want her out of office. Her, Walz, AOC, the whole squad got elected in 2019, and look what's happened to this country since they did. All of them need to go out of office, and then she can maybe just report back to her own country.
There is nothing more effed up, than to completely pretend that his words and actions have not been recorded and in existence for the last decade or so. And
I can't believe she said that. So that is our representative from Minnesota. It's a complete embarrassment. I wish she would just go away.
Yeah, she's got $30 million. She doesn't need any more money to live.
Right.
She can just disappear.
Right. Yeah, go off and do what you're going to do. I think we should probably move on from this unless you have any parting thoughts on it.
No, because it'll just get worse. So
yeah, I know. And just if you're listening, Dave and I had a nice conversation about this yesterday. It was a little blue for this channel. So
more than a little.
It was not good. That was a lot of anger. And I was telling my wife, I have a lot of I'm very angry about this, and I feel so helpless about being able to do anything about it too. I feel like I can talk and talk and talk to these guys, and they just don't care. They just don't care about it.
Right.
I wanted to bring up, I don't know if I did this. Yeah, we'll talk about it later in the violent left segment. But let's wrap up here. So this is just horrible. Your heart goes out to his wife, his kids, his family. His kids will never know their dad. And I saw this heartbreaking video of his daughter seeing him at the end of one of his interviews and just yelling "Daddy" and going and run out to him. And I remember that when I had my little kids, and it's just horrible for it. So, and I honestly, unfortunately, I also watched the close up of it happening, and I can't get that out of my brain. So that's not good.
Yeah, and the only thing that I was wondering was there were six cops from the city there watching, and he had his own private security because he knows how violent the left is. So, why weren't they, how come they didn't do their job? And they just, what are they looking at, the local crowd? Or I mean, what were they doing standing
hard
around?
to say. I would guess they never anticipated a sniper, but it's hard to say.
Yeah, so everything's got to be indoors nowadays if you're conservative. So
I haven't felt this bad about somebody I haven't known since Jim Henson died. I remember that hitting me hard too, but he just seemed like an all-around good guy. So
yeah,
all right.
It kind of makes you wonder about the local protests too. How many of those people are going to snap instantaneously because they're protesting over nothing? They're protesting lies, basically. So
I don't know.
Do we have to start? Every time someone's protesting Stauber's office or downtown Duluth, do we have to, bring a security guard with us?
Well, Stauber has private security now. He has to.
I don't know. It makes you wonder.
Insane.
Yeah.
How dare you try to cut that budget? I mean, that's all I can ever see them protesting.
Right.
All right, let's move on to Duluth news.
Yeah.
Let's move off of this. Really don't want to think about it much anymore. There was some updates on a couple of projects. The Twin Ports Interchange is completed, apparently, and they're going to open up the last step of it. It's been, 5 years now?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Long time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of nice. The highway will be opened up, and we'll be able to go up 21st Avenue West again.
Correct. Yeah.
For the first time in 5 years. And the Blatnik Bridge, they are scheduled to be entering the procurement process to determine whether it will have a tide arch bridge or a cable stayed bridge, but it's going to remain in its current configuration to keep costs down. And it's going to be closed for up to 5 years, starting in 2027. So that's just another great 5-year process. But I believe I heard that bridge is the same company and the same design as the one that crumbled in Minneapolis a few years ago. Could be wrong on that.
Yeah, and they rebuilt that bridge in under a year. So
yeah,
I can see how this would take 5 years to.
Well, it is a much bigger bridge over a lot more water, but
yeah,
I wouldn't want to work on it. I don't know about you.
Yeah, well, maybe they're only putting 5 guys on it. Who knows?
Yeah, right. 4 of them would stand around and talk about it. One guy with a shovel.
Right.
Duluth City Council met on Monday or Tuesday?
Nights, yeah.
And I tried to watch the whole thing, and I died of boredom 3 times. But I did watch some resolution about LGBTQ alphabet people and how there's supposed to be some sort of city directory and some sort of resolution to say how special they are. And it was an interesting segment to watch because they want to have this directory that goes out that promotes their businesses. I don't know why the city feels they have the right to promote businesses of owned by a certain group of people or run by a certain group of people and not others.
Right.
And how that serves city business and the amount of time they debated it. And there's no money behind it. There's no personnel behind it. It's a nothing burger, but it wastes so much time. And it's out of this is not what the city of Duluth should be working on. This is not city business. Stop wasting our time with your feel-good crap. And a lot of it was, we don't discriminate, blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. Don't discriminate. Just stop talking about it, would you? Just don't do it. Instead of just always trying to trump it. And honestly, I'll say this to you. One of the sponsors, I believe, was Eric Forsman. And all I could think of when I saw it is what position is he vying for next? I mean, why is he setting himself up to run for another office? Because that's all this is. This is virtue signaling at its highest. I understand why that girl did it, because she's out of office, so she doesn't care what she does. She decided she's not going to run again. And I was looking up her profile. She's a DEI agent at UMD. She's never done anything, but this is what she does. This is her life. So that she introduces this chaos into this Duluth City Council where it does nothing for us.
Right. And isn't promoting one group over other groups discrimination?
It's
Isn't
exactly opposite of what we should be doing as a city.
Yeah, the city of Duluth shouldn't be discriminated against anybody, but by putting out some list of businesses that they suggest you go to.
They highlight them. They're actually giving them an advantage.
Yeah, free advertising. That's
what is it about them that's so special, right?
Yeah. So you're taking what was the number? 1% of the population? Duluth's population, or is it 0.05?
I think it's like 0.04 or something like that.
Yeah. Over everybody else?
Yeah. What's this obsession? Could you just let it go? How about this? And I said this to the Duluth Chamber of Commerce too, because they had some event, and it was basically everybody except if you were a straight white guy who never served in the military. That was the one group that wasn't qualified. Everybody else was. And I said, why don't you just have a showcase for just Duluth businesses? Why does it have to be this special thing that you point out that these groups are highlighted? Why are you highlighting? Just let us do our business. And if they're a good business, people will go to it. And if they're not a good business, people won't.
Right. It's
a crazy idea of impartiality that we were taught in school that apparently they've just gone away from recently.
Yeah, if only Minnesota had an attorney general that would stop discrimination like that.
Yes, that's top on her mind. I wonder when she was elected. 2019? Was that the dark year?
Yeah.
God. County board okays its initial tax hike of 12.4%. That's the county. That's not talking about the city yet.
No, but it has to do with Duluth because you're in St. Louis County.
That's right.
So they're going to raise they're at 12.4. Reinhardt was talking about 4 to 6% increase in taxes.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty big number when you start adding all these nickel and dimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
and that's not even talking about the Minnesota state tax. And then you got the federal income tax. I mean, you are getting taxed to death here in this state, in this city in particular. This city still has a 5-cent penalty for having a shopping bag, for buying a plastic or paper shopping bag. And the funny thing is, they don't even collect that money.
No.
So that was basically just a gift to the grocery stores to pay for their shopping bags.
Right.
It's unbelievable. But yeah, 12.4% so far. That's the maximum amount they're allowed to increase. They put it to the max.
Yep.
The city is facing a $7 million deficit. The state's facing a $7 billion deficit?
$6 or $7 billion.
Yeah, hold on to your ankles because it's coming. City, state, county, everybody's coming after you.
Yeah, the county raised it. The city's going to raise it. Then they're going to come over and raise the value of your house artificially. And so that's going to raise your property taxes also.
Right. Oh yeah, that's even better too.
Yeah. So just, when you're going through your stuff and all your finances, always look at what state you can move to.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's the saddest part.
Right.
I did sneak something in here, and I'm gonna share it here. The DTA did a presentation. I just noticed this because I didn't go to the city council meeting, so I was watching the video, and I'm gonna watch this later. So the DTA came and we're asking for more money, so I'm going to show you the budget for the DTA. And 2025, 21 million, it's gone up another $1 million. So was that 5%?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
And so they're saying, well, they need a levy. So they're also trying to get more taxes. And they also talk about, what happens if we don't get it? Well, here's what happens. Discontinuation of warming center, free rides and shuttles. Discontinue of Port Town trolley, increased fare, reduced weekend service, and or cut service entirely to some neighborhoods. You should be thinking about doing all of this stuff before you start begging for more money.
Right.
And discontinuation of warming center, free rides and shuttle. Who's that for? Why are we giving free rides to people? Shouldn't they already be paying something for that?
Right.
Discontinue the Port Town trolley. Who takes that? Who's benefiting from that? I don't know the answer.
We had one.
That's even worse, right?
Yeah.
Increase fares. You're going to have to do that to cover your costs. I know the buses are taken by poor people. And so I just started watching this segment too. So I wish I would have been able to watch it beforehand. They're touting about how they've got such energy efficient buses, the e-buses and everything. Those things can't even handle the hills, and they're really expensive. So, I mean, I'm not against having a busing service, but maybe we could have it, number one, a little more efficient. Number two, how about we don't have license plates for Wisconsin, our DTA buses? Why aren't they housed in Minnesota? Why are they licensed in Wisconsin?
Well, one of the terminals is in West Duluth.
Yeah, one of the terminals is down here.
Yeah.
But the license plates on the buses are from Superior or from Wisconsin.
Oh, because it's too expensive to register them in Minnesota.
What? That's the taxes we've had. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's going up in price. You can't tell me about not doing a fare increase. I mean, look at the just food, and a comparative thing that people understand is meals at McDonald's. Literally 100% increase, almost more than that. It was $6.99, $7.50 for a full meal. Now it's $16. That's just reality right there. If you understand inflation, you're talking about 3%, 6%, 9%, 100% over the course of 5 years.
Yeah. That's your Biden economics for you.
Yeah. Didn't he get elected in 2020? It's 2019, 2020 was horrible.
Yeah. Well, COVID kind of came and they kind of, that's when they used COVID as an excuse to raise prices, what it boiled down to.
Oh, the thing maybe I put it on here. Let me see if it's on here again. I'll reintroduce this onto the screen if it's here. Yeah, let me just show you this again. A second. If you'll notice here on the bottom, it's got COVID relief money there. We got to move this banner. COVID relief funding. That's $1.2 million in 2026. What is that? Where is that coming from?
Yeah, that won't be there. Write that line off.
Right.
Yeah, non-operating revenues. That money's gone.
Yeah, I can't believe they'd still be getting it 7 years after COVID.
Yeah.
All right. Oops. Okay.
We can solve all this by installing rail.
Shut your whore mouth. God. Yeah. If I only had $7, $8, $10 billion to put a rail between here and the mall,
Yeah. We can get a train to go up Mesabi Avenue or Lake Avenue.
Hey, they used to have a train that went up, right?
Yeah, and that's the incline station, the bowling alley. That was the bottom point, and top of the hill was where it stopped at the top, and there was a nice gigantic building and great views and stuff like that. And then it burned down, and they never rebuilt it. So,
all right.
So it's kind of like Duluth Central. They build a nice building, they wipe it down, and
how did we get this through? We got to take this out.
They should put a train station up there.
Yeah, right. They should put a train station where old Central or where New Central was. Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Minnesota legislature, we have Minnesota House Democrats select Zack Stephenson to lead. He was a swing district Democrat who works as a prosecutor in the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. Boy, that can't be a very hard job. You can't. Is there anybody to prosecute today? No, we let them all go.
Well, he works in the nonviolent crime department. So, I mean, since there's zero violent crime in Hennepin County, that I'm sure they shove everything down to his office.
That's true.
And reduce murder down to graffiti. I don't know.
And he's for legalization of marijuana. He's a pro late term abortion guy. He's a Democrat.
Yeah.
Something about requiring mental health warning labels on social media.
Yeah, he was the author of a lot of these bills. He was ahead of the legalization of marijuana. He authored the bill for abortions. And he was so busy for the first 23 days of session, he couldn't show up. So
they were all busy, weren't they?
Yeah, all the Democrats are just so busy. But he had plenty of time for his perm. But other than that,
who doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. So that's who, and every article I read was about the Hortmans more than it was about him. So when we spoke earlier about, that pig that wrote that Facebook note or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's still talking about it. Everybody is still talking about that. Even when Charlie Kirk got shot, they were still talking about the assassinations in Minnesota. So all that is a complete lie, fabrication. They need to stop lying and doing crap like that because you're just creating, more shooters and more problems.
Right.
It's pretty simple. But this Zack is a kind of a horrible person, and he's gonna lead the Democrats down the same crappy road that they were. So
hitching their wagon to another stellar guy.
Yep.
We'll move on to Walz. And ICE has arrested Kenyan sex offender who had a cushy job in Tim Walz's Minnesota government. So Kenyan national with sex offense on his record was arrested by U.S. immigration. A decade ago, he pleaded guilty to sexually assaulting a woman after breaking into her Twin Cities home. He spent 18 months in an ICE custody at the time, but a judge ruled that he should not be deported. After he was released, he was employed by two different Minnesota state agencies. I believe one of those was the Department of Education, by the way.
Yeah.
So now he's a lawful permanent resident. Well, isn't that great? We're going to talk about that poor girl that got stabbed in the neck. And so remember back to that when we get to that point. We're going to talk about these judges and the ones that are letting people go. But let's just go through our list and get to it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, he was working for the Department of Education and making six figures, by the way. So, yay.
Well, he's earned it.
Yeah, of course. Who can argue with that?
Right.
The 75th person has been charged in connection with the Feeding Our Future fraud that has been rampant in our state. This is one of the biggest frauds in our state. $250 million plus wasted going to completely fraudulent people. 75 people have been charged. I still haven't heard about them knocking on any officials' doors, though. Anybody in the higher ups. They're getting all the scrubs at the bottom. Somewhere this has to go up the line to see who's at the top. I hope. Yeah,
I couldn't find the article, but I heard they did bump that number from 250 up to 350 million that was squandered by the Feeding Our Future.
350 million.
Yeah, so I got to find that article again to back but still, who cares? $2.50, $3.50. It's still $1 is too much.
Exactly. And this was under the Department of Education, by the way. This is
Yeah.
their baby. And when we're giving them a bunch of money every year and giving them committees and everything, well, you know what? They should be accountable for it. There should be some people out there facing penalties as well.
Yeah, all the schools are begging for money. Hey, there's a quick way to create money.
Could have a
Rather
lot
than
of money
fraud.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to do a violent left thing. And we already talked about Charlie Kirk at the beginning, so I don't want to go over him again. If it can't. But I want to talk about this young lady that was stabbed in the neck in Charlotte. And this is back then. I mean, this is a few days ago, September 7th. There had been nobody covering it until there was an outrage by the right. And if you haven't heard about this girl was sitting in a bus. She was, nondescript. She was wearing a hat. She's just watching her phone. This guy, psycho behind her, gets up, takes and stabs her in the neck, and then walks off. And it's horrible. It's just, she definitely didn't deserve it, obviously. She did nothing to provoke it. The thing about this is, you can look at this guy and he's psychotic. Obviously, he's not in his right mind.
Yeah.
So, yes, he's responsible for it, but at the same time, you can't control somebody that's that off in their brain. But he's been arrested how many times, Dave? 12 or 14?
I heard 14.
14 times he had been in custody and let go by the judge. 14 times. And then the governor, who used to be the AG, said, you know what we need to do? We need to get more police on the street. I'm going to put together a budget to put more police on the street. Well, as AG, he wanted to defund the police.
Right.
It's not the police that are going to help with this. The police did their job at least 14 times, if not more. How
Right.
many times did they arrest him and know he was just going to get let go? So they just stopped arresting him. But 14 times they took him off the street and the judges let him go. Now, if a bartender can be held liable for somebody they overserve as a drunk, why can't a judge be held accountable for somebody they release that many times and then does a horrific act like this?
Yeah, it's and it goes back to that, what we were talking about is they don't have any responsibility.
No, they don't face any consequences. They don't even go to law school, a lot of these people.
Right.
That was the most mind-blowing thing I found, is that a lot of judges, appointed judges, have never passed the bar exam, have never been lawyers, never went to law school. They're just appointed to this job. And that's the qualification. They're just appointed. They don't even necessarily have to be a U.S. citizen, I don't think, at this point. I know a lot of people that were definitely not born here that are judges now. And so what I told you was that was back on September 7th. This happened many days ago, and it didn't hit anything until this week. And here's somebody that just wrote this and said, here's a list of all the news networks who have not covered that story as of that time. I think this was on Sunday.
Right.
All these people, they don't cover that at all. This poor woman was sitting there, they got it all on video. They don't cover it because they don't want to.
They have their agenda. Yeah. And we can go back to the school shooter at Nunciation. They arrested, the cops had dealt with that kid many times over, and nothing happened. I mean, how many red flags do you need? You talk about the zero due process that the Democrats shove down your throat for taking your guns away.
Right.
But there's no due process, there's no red flags. What about, there should be how many red flags do you need? That guy, the guy who killed the girl, 14 times he was jailed. How many red flags do you need?
Right. And when we talk red flag, I don't think we should be talking about taking guns away. I think we should talk about committing these people until they're ready to be safely in society. No, it's not about taking guns away. It's not about the weapon. That's a tool. It's the people that are behind it. The guy here in Charlotte, he used a knife. They do that in Britain too. So now they just ban knives. So then people come out with machetes. They ban machetes. They just keep banning the instruments. You're not taking care of the root problem, which is psychotic people that are out in the streets and keep getting let go by these judges.
Right.
And
Yeah. How
you
many
think
red
about it.
flags do they need?
Think about it as a cop too. You've arrested this guy 14 times. He's acting psychotic. You're taking a risk of your life every time you have to subdue this guy. How many times you have to do that before you're going to get hurt? Clearly, this poor girl found out.
Yeah. And then after, even with that video, even with the 100% video that he did it, the judge still let the kid out of jail for murder, and he still walked out with no
Not the guy that
bond.
stabbed the girl in the neck, did he?
Yeah. He's
No
out
way.
of jail. Yeah.
I didn't
He
hear
walked
that.
free too. Yeah, I heard that because he.
Oh my God.
So he still, he still walked out. He just had to sign a piece of paper said he's coming back.
I did not hear that. That is disgusting.
Right. So we're back to how come the judges don't face any consequences? He killed someone. Now, is that enough to put him in jail? I mean, Bloody Mary Moriarty, she wouldn't.
No, she wouldn't.
No. So.
All right. I got a cool.
That's who this Zack works for. That Zack, who's supposed to take over for
Oh
Horton.
God.
Yeah, that's his boss. Bloody Mary.
Well, I wonder if he learned a thing or two from her. I tell you.
Yeah,
okay, let's go on to something better. I can't. My blood is too boiled for this stuff. This is crazy. National news: a Hyundai plant. Did you hear about this in Georgia? ICE arrested over 400 guys. So they made this big to-do about opening this Hyundai plant there, and they were going to create all these jobs. And then what do they end up doing? They importing. That's just the illegals they have there. They have many other people that are there they pulled in on green cards.
Right.
So that company should be facing severe penalties for that.
Yeah, even South Korea, the government got involved and sent a plane to pick them all up to bring them home. So,
and great. They're trying to get a job. They're trying to do a good job. That's fine. You build a plant here. You have to abide by the rules that have been put in place, very many by Democrats. That's why businesses don't build plants here, is because of the crushing debt you ensue because of it.
Correct.
So you got to fix the problem too. I have another story here, and I want to share this. Do you remember the Jean Carroll who accused Trump of rape?
Yeah, I remember she's the one that the state changed the laws so
she could bring it forward. Yeah.
So she could bring it forward. Yeah.
Yeah. She didn't know the dates it happened. She did a magazine cover saying, I still fit the dress that I was wearing when it happened, but the year she said it happened, the dress hadn't been made for, it wouldn't be made for another 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
This is her as a younger person giving some advice.
Well, I'm calling because I'm a 49.
This isn't her talking. So this is a caller calling in, talking to her.
Year-old single woman who's never been married. I consider myself well educated, but at the same time, I find it difficult to meet gentlemen who are of the caliber I want to date.
Oh, Jody, nothing in the whole world is easier. The thing is, you gotta just leave your house, Jody, and just get out there. The best place to meet men is on the street. You just see somebody cool coming toward you, stop him. Drop your purse, drop your change, hand him a beer, hand him a $5 bill. If you see somebody who say, my name is such and such, that's how you do it. The street is the #1 place to meet a guy.
So, she's totally an aggressor. Totally an aggressor.
Yeah.
I don't believe a thing that woman says. I think she's got a couple of loose screws, I swear to God.
Yeah.
And the more stuff I see about her, the worse it gets. And that surprises me sometimes.
She seems like a beginner gold digger. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I have another. This is the Wayback Machine. Maybe we should rename this segment the Wayback Machine. Because I got another thing from somebody that I think he would be called, I don't know, a very hard right-wing conservative. Let's just bring it up and see what he had to say. This is Senator Joe Biden in 1989, stutter, by the way, before he developed a lifelong stutter. That's what he had to say.
In very personal terms for a moment, Joe Biden, me, I would settle for a world in which I could worry about the same kinds of things that my parents worried about, in which I only had to worry about the grades my children got in school rather than the drugs they're being exposed to, in which I only had to worry about the prices my wife had to pay at the supermarket instead of fearing that she might get mugged by a junkie in the parking lot as she loads her groceries into the car, in which tonight I could call my mom just to wish her pleasant dreams, not for the purpose of making sure she's safe in her own home. That's the kind of world I want. That's the kind of world you deserve. In a nutshell, the president's plan doesn't include enough police officers to catch the violent thugs, not enough prosecutors to convict them, not enough judges to sentence them, and not enough prison cells to put them away for a long time. We disagree with the president's decision to cut back on our previous commitment to protect against drugs coming across the border, to cut the Customs Service, the Coast Guard, and the Border Patrol. We think we should do more to stem the flow of drugs across our borders, and we think we should go one step further. Let's go after the drug lords where they live, with an international strike force. There must be no safe haven for these narco-terrorists, and they must know it. And we don't have to promise a world without worry or fear. We're not asking for that much. All we have to do together is to keep our promises and stay together. Thank you.
36 years ago. He's been solving problems for 36 years. And if he were to say that today, talking about thugs, talking about junkies, he would be canceled so fast you'd make your head spin. But there was a time where he thought, oh, there are drugs coming across the border. Oh, we should have higher border patrols. I mean, it's just amazing to me how things changed.
Right. Yeah, that was a sentence, a paragraph or whatever, completely against what he's talking about nowadays.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you could have him debate himself. You know, video clip, and you could just have him going back and forth about how he's, we got to do this. You can't do that.
Who is this guy? Who is this bum?
You gotta love him. God bless you, Joe. Don't ever change. I'm gonna get you another article here where Trump is literally finally talking about anti-Christian as opposed to just anti-Semitic, which is all you really ever hear, anti-Semitic or Islamophobic, right. But you don't hear anything about anti-Christian. And we've talked about it privately quite a bit. It's pretty bad. You can make fun of any religion. You can't make fun of any religion except for Christianity. And then that you can do anything you want to. And apparently you can't speak up about it.
Right.
So let's hear what the president had to say about this.
Created the first ever Department of Justice task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias. And for those people that are a little bit naive or not well-read, there is a tremendous anti-Christian bias. We don't hear about it. We don't think about it. You hear about anti-Semitic, but you don't hear about anti-Christian. Now, you have a strong anti-Christian bias, but we're ending that rapidly. I will tell you, we're in a much different world today than we were 1 year ago. This is like a different world.
I'm glad to hear that. That is good news to me. That makes me happy. It needs to be first recognized and then something done about it. Now it's finally being recognized where it had not been for so long.
And he's building a task force, so something's going to be done about it.
Right.
And he's a doer.
He is a doer.
And then he gets it done. So
right. It's the beautiful thing. It's why he's befuddled the politicians up to this point, because they don't understand that. What are you doing here? What are you trying to do? Actually do something? My God. Yeah.
What are you trying to accomplish something?
Right. You said it and you did it. That doesn't keep us on the payroll the rest of our lives.
Right.
I just love it. It's great. Another here. Share this. Let's have you talk about this one. Nation's report card.
Yeah, the Nation showing how poor our kids are doing in schools. We've talked about this many times on the show about how Minnesota schools used to be ranked third. We're now 17th. That our reading proficiency has gone down significantly. They keep just lowering the passing grades so people can still get through high school and pass, even though they're not proficient. So I was curious about how bad is Duluth doing, and math is just above 40%. Reading is just below 60%. And the middle line there is science, and they're changing the way they're doing science, so they didn't have a number for 2025. But they're still the graduation rate in Duluth is still in the 70s. So how can you get 20%?
It's only in the 70s.
Yeah, but
Oh my
still,
God.
if you have someone that's reading or math at 40 some, and then you have graduation in the 70s, and you have a 20% difference. There's 20% can't read or write. So,
Well, I mean,
how can they even graduate then?
I would wonder what it is actually, because this is reading to the proficient level. That doesn't mean they can't read. I would actually be really interested to see how many really just are illiterate, as opposed to not reading at a proficient level. You can have some slack with that, but you can't have slack with not being able to read, right? Which is what we talked about last week, which is that girl who graduated with honors from high school without being able to read, or literally not being able to read or write, functionally illiterate. Now, I understand how she did it, because she would just use a AI translator, right? She would just have something translate it and speak it to her, and then she'd speak something and she'd have it written down. And that should be alarming to everybody, because that is so easy to do nowadays that you're looking 1-2 generations. You could have people that don't know how to write. It would be like having some kind of cryptic alien language. They speak it, it writes it out, and then it translates it back. And then what? As soon as the power goes out, something shifts. You can't read or write. What happens? We lose everything.
Yeah, but how can you? Let's say this is, okay, you can't read at the 12th grade proficiency. Okay, then how did you graduate?
Right. Yeah. How did you pass class?
Yeah. So how did you pass a 12th grade reading class if you can't read? Therefore, you can't graduate. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, I agree. Same with math. It boggles my mind. Yeah. I wanted to mention again 2019. What happened in 2019? COVID and our governor.
Yeah.
Straight down. I can't blame him for that completely, but I will do it because I don't like him.
Yeah, he announced today he's running for a third term, which is going to be, headlines of Minnesota's greatest embarrassment.
Just a continuing story.
Yeah.
Just Al Franken, him, Ilhan Omar, Klobuchar. Yeah. I mean, geez, it's bad because look at Tim. He's like, well, I can't be the stupidest one anymore. Surely I can win. I hope he wins and gets crushed so bad that he leaves the state. That's my hope.
Yeah. They just found a very recent interview with him where he was talking about pick sixes, and that's a football term, but he used it incorrectly.
He's just a guy, man.
How can a football coach?
That's right. He was a coach.
Yes. So how does a football coach screw up a pick six analogy? So he wasn't a very good football coach.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. But this whole thing just shows how poorly our schools are doing, and there needs to be a complete overhaul and complete change. And hopefully McMahon can do that. I don't know. She's more busy. She was told to close down the Federal Department of Education. Hopefully there's something that can be done to fix that. So
here's the problem. Now we're just putting more into the Minnesota Department of Education, and look what a bang up job they've done so far.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the teachers that have to work there, because God, this whole social studies things they came out with now, and basically get your teacher's license, you have to agree with stuff that they should not have to agree with, and has nothing to do with education. It has everything to do with social experiments and mental illness. Last item is the House rejected a resolution to censure Representative LaMonica McIver from New Jersey. So she went out into an ICE detention center. She got into a fight. She tried to sneak in or something. They detained her.
Yeah. She was trying to get the mayor in, and surrounded the mayor, and was elbowing ICE and police members that were there. And
to shoot this down, she had to get 5 Republicans to vote for her, right?
Yeah, something like that. I think she only needed like 2 or 3, but she got 5.
And just like every time, there's always they'll always have just enough to not do something. It's like you're selected. It's like a lottery. You didn't have to do it last time, so you're going to be picked this time. Just spread it out and make sure nothing ever happens to these people, because what we talked about before, layers of justice, and we'll go over that coming up in another segment, not today, but
yeah,
the tiers of justice are heavily swayed against us.
So regardless of her elbowing a police officer and getting into a fight, they voted to not censure her and not to give her any consequences for her actions.
You're fine. So, just go on your way. Promise not to do it again.
Yeah. So once again, Democrats are above the law, and there's no basically, no real, if it wasn't for the fact we dig pretty deep into finding some of these stories, we wouldn't even have known about it.
You won't know about it. Yeah. So, and just think of the stuff we don't, we're both busy. It's tough for us to find all this stuff. All right. I'm going to move on to international news. Canadians, I'm going to post an MP4 file. I'm not going to play it here, but Canadians are being told to remove the cameras outside of their homes. They're being told it's illegal to videotape anything outside the perimeter of your property, including the public sidewalk and the public streets. That's the purview of the government. I can't believe how far Canada has fallen. I wonder if I go back what year it started. I'm thinking 2019, maybe.
I think so, yeah.
And that would just they're in this video. They're telling one of the homeowners, you can't videotape out here. It's like, it's my front of my house. No, you can't. It's illegal. You should take it down.
I wonder if we could put the Ring camera inside the house so they can't see it, or is that illegal too? If
they can't see it, if they find out about it, I'm sure they'll come after you and beat you down.
Yeah.
They'll step over the homeless guys squatting in your front yard to get there.
Yeah, Canada and England, they're just going downhill faster than you can imagine.
Well, I'm going to talk about Canada one more time. 1 in 20 people is assisted suicide in Canada. There's over 15,000 people now that have been suicided in Canada by the government. So last time when I ran last year, I was sent a questionnaire by somebody talking about all this life stuff. And the only thing I disagreed with on was having a law that allowed somebody to commit suicide. And what I said was, you know what? There's got to be I'm not talking about doing this in general, but there's a very small bit where somebody's looking at very limited time left of a lot of pain and they can't stand it anymore, they should be, you shouldn't prevent them from, if that's really what they want to do, try to counsel them out of it. But now at this point, I'm kind of for just banning it all, because this is what happens. This is the slippery slope that we always get into. You get a little bit and then they just pull it for as much as they can.
Yeah, because all it takes is a corrupt doctor to sign off on it, and you get some that just are totally for it, and they'll basically give it to anybody.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, and there's literally a woman that was she needed a walker, and she was trying to get the government to send her a walker. And it was going to take 6 months. So she was calling up to say, can we get it any faster? And they honestly said to her, well, have you thought about suicide? For a walker.
For a walker, yeah.
That's when you got a bell, you just keep ringing it, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go talk about Britain for a little bit. UK.
They're in bad shape.
What's that?
They're in bad shape.
Yeah. So there was an abandoned vehicle in this city in St. James, or I don't know where it was. It was somewhere in the UK, and it had a bunch of pro-Palestinian graffiti on it. It sat there for 6 months, and it was like free Palestine and all this other quotes, right? So what they've been doing in Britain now is painting the St. James flag on things. This is the British flag. It's white with the red cross crossing.
Yeah.
That's the St. James flag. They painted it on there, and that van had been taken away in 3 days. All you had to do is, so I saw a Babylon Bee thing where it was like, to get rid of migrants, the English are painting St. James flags on them. So it's just freaking amazing.
Yeah, I've seen them getting threatened. I've seen people on video getting threatened by the cops for painting those St. James flags. So
yeah, they put them up. They actually send the government there in the middle of the night, like 2 or 3 in the morning, to take the flags down of their own country.
Yeah. But I have seen videos now where the locals are getting tired of the Palestinian flags and they're cutting them down. So they're taking it under their own steam to take back their country, which is nice.
Yeah. I apparently screwed up and deleted one of my next things, but I'm going to talk about this guy named Banksy. He does art in the UK. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. It's kind of a famous person. They don't know who he is, but maybe they do. But he goes off and creates this art all over the UK. And usually what happens is when he does it, people leave it there and they love looking at it. So he's kind of a well-known guy. Well, he painted on the side of a courthouse a guy laying on the ground and a judge with a hammer, the hammer they use, beating him. It was really down. It was down in 1 day. They took it off. They completely took it off. I thought it was hilarious. I'm sure I could find it if I look for it. But yeah, it's funny how what they'll leave up and what is not allowed.
Yeah, they like I said, they're going so downhill. It's you really wonder who's in control of the government now, because you can't celebrate your own country.
Oh, they now have an Indian woman in charge of their immigration. She's wearing the full Habib and everything. She's in charge of their education and deportation stuff. You think that's happening now? It's not happening now. So, but you want to really find out how bad it is. And this has happened before, but I'm going to just play this video because I just find it amusing. This is the second time this has happened, by the way.
Yeah, obstructing the highway.
No,
and
these are obstructing the highway.
Offences in relation to...
Your police one's obstructing the highway.
Yeah, that is allowed to do because I'm dealing with an incident that's protecting me.
There's no incident to deal with. You came to me. And
yeah, I came to you because I was concerned about your behaviour. Okay,
Inspector,
and I am still concerned with behaviour. Bye-bye. Good.
Absolute muppet.
I find that offensive as well. That is your first warning regarding public order. If you call me a muppet again, I will arrest you. Okay? Public order. Harassment allowed this.
Are you being serious?
No, I am very
You
serious.
are going to be very, very famous by the end of today, my friend. Very famous.
If you call me a muppet again, I will arrest you for
I'm just, let me get out of the way. Now I'm going to prove to you now.
calling me a muppet is offensive.
I am going to prove to you, Inspector, on camera, that
Right. You're under arrest for harassment, alarm, and distress.
committing an offence.
Yeah, obstructing the highway.
Harassment, alarm, and distress to a police officer for calling him a muppet.
Well, it depends on which Muppet he was talking about. You know, Kermit the Frog, you know, he's the leader, so that would be okay. But, you know, Fozzie the Bear, you know, that's humorous. So what Muppet is he talking about?
But what distress? And I just have to ask this, and to be completely serious. Isn't it more stressful to be arrested by a police officer than it is to call somebody a bad name they don't like?
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't even cursing. He called him a muppet. Hey, sticks and stones may break my bones. Words won't ever hurt me. But in the UK, you got to be. I mean, they're going way over the edge. They've gone way over the edge. The only thing I can say is maybe that wasn't true. Maybe that was a fake video. I don't know. It didn't seem like a fake video to me, but maybe it was. I don't know.
Well, so here's an update on the story we talked about last week about the comedian who wrote on social media, bad thing, something, I don't even remember what he said, but the government didn't like it, so they arrested him. Okay, so he was a Scottish national, so he wasn't even an English person, an Englishman.
Yeah.
And when he wrote the thing, he was in the U.S.
Right.
So they arrested a non-citizen for making a tweet, not even in England, and they arrested him.
Well, he's in the UK as a Scottish guy, so he's under their control, I believe, or he's under their laws.
Yes. Well, he wrote the tweet when he was in the U.S. and he basically didn't belong. You know, so how can you arrest someone for following the rules of the country? You know, the whole thing made zero sense.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the headline is arrested for a tweet. And it wasn't even like a threatening. It's not like he said he was going to go hunt down this person and kill him or dox him or something. It was a stupid, funny, you know, he was just trying to make a funny point. And he got arrested. They spent resources to find out when he was going to be back in, get to the airport and arrest him and bring him to the police station. You're paying, you as UK citizens have to pay for that. That's unbelievable to me. And
as an American citizen, you better just not go over there because you don't know what's offensive to them. Yeah. Don't pass through the airport. You know, if you're going to another country, find a different way because they're going to arrest you because who knows what you said in your whole life. I don't know, man. I might have called you a muppet at some point in my life. Yeah, exactly. Distress. You're distressing me. That's a cop. Yeah. Try that here. Yeah. You're a muppet. Go away. My God. All right, let's go to health and fitness and wrap stuff up here. So you found a nice article here, which is exercise may actually reverse your body's aging clock. It's nice. Yeah, I'm trying to find where I put it. I've got it up on screen. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So it basically just says exercise, you know. Mm-hmm. Better, you know, you can do some actual exercise versus, you know, even if you're like a construction person that's kind of moving all the time, you still need a structured exercise. Yeah. You know, so when we talk about, you know, taking the dog for a walk every single day, you know, going to the gym, you know, doing something every single day. Well, right. Here's more scientific facts that back up that will, you know, help you out in the long run. So, right. You will be better off if you're not just sitting around all the time. That's for sure. And yeah, definitely. You can get away with it when you're in your 20s, kind of in your 30s, but then it starts catching up to you in the 40s if you're not
you're not doing it, it gets harder and harder to start that exercise routine and stick with it. The older you get, because you're ruining your body as you do it. So it's going to be harder for you to do stuff.
Yeah. So get into the routine of just, like I said, walking the dog, walking the cat,
walking the cat. I'd like to see
the ferret, whatever you have.
I always like to see the people that put a dog in a baby stroller and wheel it around. I mean, you're getting exercise. Your poor dog's not, but at least you're getting out.
My daughter does that with her cat. She puts it in a stroller and
cat. You got no choice.
Well, the cats. If you train a cat, they'll walk on a leash, but it takes years. So
I'd love to see it. Love to see it. All right. I don't have anything else. You got anything else?
No, that was basically the end of what I found, and I knew that we're gonna have to go sit in the blood pressure machine until we can, till it comes down, and before we can go out and driving again. So,
all right. Well, thank you for coming, listening to us rant. Hopefully next week it'll be more upbeat. We may be on a different schedule next week because of other stuff coming up, but we'll keep you informed. But until then, happy Shaka. Think good thoughts. Don't kill anybody. Don't think that you should. And we'll see you next week. Until then, I'm Sean.
I'm Dave.
And this has been the Duluth Conservative. See you next week.